Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. We've got a lot to discuss on this episode. First off, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. It's great to be here with you as we approach the new year. We were not able to do the show yesterday. Obviously, we were able to, but we wanted to give people time off and ourselves a little bit of time off with the family.
It's disrespectful
on Christmas. Well, the brothers did a show, so it wasn't that disrespectful.
All right, so not disrespectful.
we did a live show with the brothers, but we wanted to say doing two shows is clearly disrespectful. Doing one show, it's the right level of respect.
There you go.
We wanted to make sure we did our second show this week, though, just to be with everybody here in this incredible community. So a lot to discuss. Let's just jump into it. You've got Donald Trump moments ago before we went live. Cohen, he's posting about issues that really matter to the American people. Do you think, Cohen and Beatdown Brigaders, that he's talking about what his healthcare plan is and how he's going to reduce healthcare costs? Nah, why would he do that? You think he's talking about Affordable Care Act extensions? No. Do you think he's talking about what his plan is to reduce costs on day one, which we're now basically 360 days past that promise? You think he's talking? No, what he's talking about is the potential
90 deals in 90 days.
No, forget about that. Who really believed 90 deals in 90 days, Cohen? No, what he's talking about is potential marble armrests for seating at the Trump Kennedy Center, unlike anything ever done or seen before. And then he posts the renovated Palm Room with marble flooring there. I guess this is what our taxpayer dollars are going to. And this is what he's talking about while so many American people are struggling to get a paycheck. Those who are getting paychecks are psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck. People can't afford their rent right now. People are defaulting on their credit cards and picking up credit card debt. You have the Trump regime announcing that it will begin garnishing wages of people who are not paying their student loans, which could be millions of people. And he's posting about marble arm. Why would you even want? That's kind of uncomfortable. A marble armrest just doesn't seem all that comfortable.
You know, Ben, I got to be honest with you here. First of all, the place in those pictures looks like a mausoleum, but there is actually a reason why Congress and committee are involved in whether it's a renovation of a government building or whether it is the renaming of a specific building. There's a reason why, and this is exactly the reason why. Let me just say Trump has a very particular taste. The ballrooms all look the same. The marble on the floor is exactly the same. The white marble with the, gray veins in them and so on. Sure, there is a place for it. Is this the right place for it? I don't know. How many of you that are here with us right now have actually ever been to the Kennedy Center? And I suspect probably not too many of you. I was there once, obviously many years ago, but how many people have actually been there? And it's so important that you're now going to have marble chairs, that you can have marble armrests. I mean, you're right, Ben. People can't afford their lives right now, but at least they know that when others who are significantly more fortunate financially than they will have very important chairs and armrests to relax their arms on. It's very, very important.
Well, look, here's the thing. If people ultimately want this, right? If this is what is wanted, people elect their members to Congress. People elect their senators. and they are the ones who are supposed to have oversight over these things. That's why we have no kings, why we have no dictators. And ultimately, if this is how our representatives think that our money should be spent, they should be held accountable for that. And that's the way our system works. Like, if you don't like our system, there are other systems out there. I mean, you're seeing it in Russia, you see it in North Korea, you see it in Saudi Arabia, you see it in authoritarian regimes. There, you see it in Iran, you see it in China. Those are the systems out there. Our system is democracy, and it's deliberative process, and you have checks and balances, or you were supposed to. And now we don't have that anymore. And so the dictator, the Führer, names something, the Trump Kennedy Center, the Trump Peace Center, Trump RX, the Trump naval vessels, the Trump this, the Trump that.
The Trump gold visas, the Arc de Trump, the two-sided commemorative 250th coin with his image on both sides. I mean, you can go on dropping his face on the side of the what building was that? That was the Fed building. I mean, there comes a
the
point,
Labor Department building, the Kim Jong-un stuff.
There comes a point in time that people have to understand, whether you love Trump or you despise him, that's not even what this is about. What this is about is that you don't name vessels after people who are still alive. You don't name, there's a reason why that the Kennedy Center was named the Kennedy Center. There's a reason why there is no American who has ever been on, whether it's a coin or a bill, that is still alive. That is something that is in the sphere for monarchs, dictators, rulers, kings, etc. And here in America, to those of you who may not be aware of this, I see that there's a couple of haters, of course, always, trying to troll. America is a democratic republic, meaning we don't have kings. That's what this is about. Maybe down the road, many years from now, right, somebody will name something after him. Maybe they will, but not while the individual is still alive. That's just the way the rules work.
Until now, and until someone doesn't follow a rules-based system, someone who doesn't follow a rules-based global order. So whether it's domestic or abroad, 2025 has been defined with the Trump regime side of things as destroying the rules, right? Breaking the system, not rebuilding it with anything other than this disorganized, incompetent, fascist mess. And Trump destroys the world order that existed for, the better part of a half a century, longer, 70 years, really since World War II. Trump shifted that dynamic, and I believe he's made America far weaker. He's given the green light to authoritarians to conquer. Hey, look, if Trump's saying Greenland is ours or Canada's the 51st state, then China's justified in its view of saying, well, if America's doing that and there's no rules-based order and sovereignty doesn't matter anymore, then China says, okay, well, I guess we'll be more aggressive towards Taiwan. And not only that, we'll look at Asia in general as a sphere of influence.
Right. And we're going to allow Russia to turn around and to try to conquer again Europe. They're going to, of course, try, and they're not doing a good job with it, but try to take Ukraine. And after Ukraine, of course, we all know what's next. I mean, this is not rocket science here. They're going to look to Poland, and then after Poland, the Baltics, and then to take over all of Europe. Well, this is a big problem. In fact, Ben, just to prove your point, Europe and our allies, especially the NATO allies, are so in tune with what Putin is looking to do here that they have actually all gotten together outside of the sphere of the United States in order to engage in conversation how to protect one another. Ultimately, when the United States, when this administration found out that it was taking place without them, what did he do? He immediately summons Marco Rubio and somebody else to go running there in order to, right, at least be there to demonstrate their presence so that, you know, the world doesn't move on without us. But that's the saddest part, because that's what's happening. The world is going to move on without us. And it opens up a massive slot for like China or others to step in and to fill it.
Yeah. I mean, look, just in the past week, you have Trump sanctioning Europe, saying that Europe runs a free speech censorship regime and not allowing key European officials to travel to the United States. I mean, think about it. Our State Department issued sanctions against European officials, and Donald Trump's posting and bragging about it. Rubio imposes visa restrictions on European officials. This is how Trump phrases it, who attempted to censor American free speech. They didn't attempt to censor American free speech. Europe has its own laws, and to protect their own democracy and to protect their freedom of speech, they've enacted consumer protection laws that says if you're a social media platform of 45 million subscribers or more, you can't be allowing these bots to proliferate. You can't be allowing these deceptive ads to reach consumers. You can't be allowing foreign interference in elections using your platforms. And if you do that, there will be fines to pay. So it's common sense regulations, the type of regulations that, frankly, we should have here in the US. MAGA absolutely hates it because MAGA has aligned with a fascist authoritarian movement internationally that wants to spread the disinformation and erode good data and information using social media platforms. And Elon Musk was pissed, and oh, now you're sanctioning me. I'm trying to use X and Twitter to do all of these things, and now I have to be fined, not sanctioned. I have to pay a fine because of all of these things, because of your European laws. And Europe's like, yeah, we're sovereign. This is called the European Union, and there are countries within the European Union. This is how we are handling our own affairs. Just think about it like this, though, Cohen. Has the Trump regime imposed sanctions on Saudi Arabia for free speech censorship, where the platform is literally not even allowed? Are they doing sanctions against Hungary? Are they doing sanctions against China for the result of censorship? You're censoring Europe for free speech. And so Europe has to now think about how it responds. Wait a minute, we're getting State Department sanctions against Europe. At the same time, Trump is rolling back its sanctions against Russia. You remember when we were covering, what was it, 3 months ago, when Donald Trump and everybody in the regime was like, yep, we're going to do secondary sanctions against Russia if they don't agree to a peace deal. Do you remember that?
Sure
secondary, which would mean that there are sanctions to begin with. So here we are right before New Year's. Not only is there no secondary sanctions, they've removed the underlying sanctions, and now they're sanctioning Europe.
Right. And what's happened to the primary sanctions against Russia for, I don't know, do I need to bring up Navalny just as the latest in terms of censorship on any media or any statements which are made that is not beneficial to the Kremlin, beneficial to Putin himself? I mean, at some point in time, you know, this is the problem, right? Again, what you're doing is you're cozying up to our adversaries at the expense of our allies, and that's never going to work out well for us.
You know, just think about the news, like as Trump's trying to cover up the Epstein files, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You know, one of the things that he does is he strikes inside of Nigeria, northwest Nigeria. He says he's going after ISIS targets there. He says that, you know, ISIS is out there targeting the Christians, that they're focused on the Christians in Nigeria. And he said, I gave him a warning, and I had to do it because they keep attacking Christians. So let's be clear, right, Cohen? I mean, just think about how this is reported. It's reported as Donald Trump engages in strike against ISIS for attacking Christians. Why? Because that's what Donald Trump said, right? I did a Substack post on this earlier this morning at MeidasPlus.com. By the way, subscribe to Cohen Substack as well. But on MeidasPlus.com, I said, could we just address this critically? If we're talking about ISIS attacks in Nigeria, it's not uniquely going after Christians, right? You have certain groups like Boko Haram, ISIL of the West, and these groups. First off, didn't Donald Trump say that he destroyed ISIS and it doesn't exist anymore?
I thought so.
Right? That's what he said, that he destroyed it. It no longer exists. Okay, so, or they're so afraid of him that they're not doing anything right now. Well, obviously that's false. Don't you think that should be pointed out? They're not going after specifically Christians. I think if you look at the data, it's Christians and Muslims alike. Don't you think that should be pointed out? You don't think it's suspicious either that he's doing this on Christmas to protect the Christians on Christmas? Then that's what he's actually said to Politico. I wanted to save it for Christmas. So what was this? It was like a PR military strike on Christmas to protect the Christians and to say that's what's happening. And then it gets digested by our media or propagandized as though this is what it is. And it actually creates more issues than it actually solves. Because now Nigeria has to save face. So they put out a statement, oh, we knew about this. No, they didn't know about it.
Right. That's what I wanted to bring up, that what happens is post fact, they're concerned because you have a president who is willing to, in an unhinged manner, to go ahead and to, I don't know, interfere, right, with Nigeria's, I don't know whether it be armaments or oil.
Nigeria has oil and lithium. That's,
right. And, you know, they don't want to end up being on his shit list right now. So let me be very clear. They come up with a statement that says, yes, we knew about it. Not only did we know about it, we were involved. How? Because my understanding is that this was a U.S. completely sanctioned operation that, as Ben pointed out accurately, shouldn't even have happened because the previous and the current Trump administration has already gotten rid of ISIS altogether. They don't exist. They ran for the hills.
Yeah. And it requires congressional authorization. So it's unlawful to begin with without congressional authorization. And for all of those reasons, and then Nigeria has to put out a statement and says, well, we're here to protect all people in Nigeria, whether they're Muslim, Christian, etc. So then, though, other African nations have to look at this and they have to say, you know, do we need to more firmly align with China? Do we need to more firmly align with others to protect ourselves? Do we need to try to access nuclear weapons? Because we need some deterrent against this. So obviously, Trump's looking at countries that have lithium and oil that he could pick on, whether it's Venezuela or whether it's Nigeria or wherever. And he's creating pretexts in order to do mini invasions or invasions there and to attack both for the benefit of his bloodlust, for his desire to put his right-wing oligarch billionaires in there to suck up the oil and the lithium and all of that, which is what he says he's doing also in Venezuela. But we need to report on these things the way we just did here. And ultimately, here's the thing, Cohen, if armed with those facts that I just gave, Congress says, okay, we still think you should do this. Or the people watching this go, Ben, we appreciate it. But we now understand that there is indeed ISIS in Nigeria. That is true.
Yeah.
And that they have done attacks on Muslims and Christians about an equal level, that a lot of this is about, should we try to lower our oil prices here by taking Nigeria's oil? And we need rare earth elements. And we see China cutting us off from rare earth elements, even though Trump claims they're not, but they are. Nigeria has, some of the stuff. They have lithium, they have other stuff. Armed with those facts, the American people go, you know what, Ben? We want war. We're a conquering nation, manifest destiny. This is what I don't want that. Let me be very clear. I don't want that one bit. But shouldn't we have the information? So, and isn't that what our checks and balances and our system was created for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you need Congress to be involved, that you can't have the decision to engage in war in the hands of only one person. Understand that it's been a very long time since the United States had a war on its soil, up until 9/11, right, when they attacked America. So they went and they attacked ISIS in this western area of Nigeria. But the reason that you have Congress and others getting involved is because the last thing we want is for violence to take place, for a war to take place here on American soil. When you start doing things like this, you open up the world, right? You open up the attacks in America and against Americans. And you know what? It's stupid, especially when it's not even necessary.
I don't know if you gave this example or if I heard it somewhere else, but John McCain, the late great senator, courageous, when he was captured in the Vietnam War and he became a prisoner of war.
I gave it.
What did he? Yeah. I think, imagine if they said, hey, look, guess what? The U.S., they're out there killing, people on fishing boats. They're not taking prisoners of war. They don't follow rules of war, rules of surrender. So we're just going to kill them. And we'll kill any you. And then we go, whoa, 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 whoa. They go, well, you did it. You did it. You're the U.S. So a rules-based order is important. And eroding the rules-based order brings us to a position that we're in right now. And the position that we're in, frankly, is the position where the world was kind of right before. Go back and read books on World War I, to a lesser extent, but same World War II, because the issues of World War I were not really fully resolved, leading to kind of World War II thereafter. But there's a whole thing there. But you can see what the failure of a rules-based world order led to. World wars.
Sure.
And so we had built these systems, and the United States was at the forefront to avoid the exact situations so that history wouldn't repeat itself. It's the old adage, right? History repeats itself, and you got to be able to see history and try to make moves to block it. That's
sure.
why.
Yeah, see, war is there's such a finality to war. It's what I had said to you in the past, that at least there is some semblance of honor during war, right? Rape, pillage, murder, not acceptable, right? To civilians and so on. That's all being thrown out. It's exactly the point that Ben is trying to make here. So, so astutely, by the way.
Yeah. So look, here's what I want to talk about also, though, too. There's two things. I want to talk about Trump's Epstein cover-up, because we've got more data right now. Midas Touch was the first to report about 1.2 million missing records in the Southern District of New York. And then within 12 hours, the DOJ posted, we found 1.2 million records in the Southern District. They knew about that since 2020. That was in the existing files. The first thing you would do if you were gathering documents for a production is you'd reach out, you'd say, who are your custodians? That's the term that's used in electronic discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Who are my custodians? Southern District of New York, check. Southern District of Florida, check. Maybe the Treasury Department, because banking records and suspicious activity reports, check. Who else? Maine Justice, check. All of the civil cases, we have all of that. You make, you make your production forthwith, and you go through it. It takes about 90 days, I think, to go through all of this. If you started in February, if you had 5 people reviewing it, probably take 90 days. If you had 10 people reviewing it, I think it would take 60 days. If you had 100 people or 1,000 people, it should take you weeks, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say 45 days. But right now, the way they've handled this couldn't be worse. Couldn't be worse. So I want to talk about that. And then one of the other stories that the Midas touch broke, which I don't think gets enough attention, are these scammy Trump emails that he sends on Christmas and in general. And if you look at these emails, the scam is so flagrant and it's so abusive and it's so heinous. And just to tease a little bit of what we'll talk about, go to that last thing where it has you click, where you think you're basically clicking like, the normal box, like I've read a disclaimer, right? And it says like, alert, Democrats are gaining momentum. Keep this box checked to support MAGA in this do or die battle. You see how that's in red? Then another color underneath it says, donate an additional $2,500 automatically on December 31st. So you may think you're clicking this box. Like, let's say you've donated X dollars. You think you're clicking a box to say, I support Trump by clicking this box. Then if you didn't read it under, you just gave the guy $2,500 more by December 31st. I mean, it's some heinous stuff. Let's talk about that.
Can we just go back to that for one quick second? I want you to turn around to see, you got what, $47, which of course is to represent him as the 47th president, but then it goes to 100. Jeremy, can you post that for 1 second? After 100, I think it goes to 250, right? 47, 100, 250, 500, 1,000, 2,500 on Christmas, when he's telling people your kid doesn't need a dozen dolls. 2 is more than enough. Or people complaining, you could take that down, to people complaining that they don't have money for medication, for fuel, for insurance, right? But that's okay. $2,500. Look at the numbers you're talking about. This isn't like a $5 or a $1. I mean, you're talking about, this is real dollars that people don't have.
Let's go through this email together. And I'm told we actually don't have an ad break today, so we could. That's good. So let's just take a look at it right here. So here's the email that you get on Christmas from Trump. Let's say you're a Trump supporter. You get this, right? From Trump, I'm in your chimney. Merry Christmas. I sent you a special Christmas letter. So you open it up and it says, I sent you a special Christmas letter from Trump to a very loyal MAGA patriot. It says, I sent you a special Christmas letter, but my team says that it went to the wrong address. So I guess I'll stick to emails from here on out. So pause right there. It already starts with a deception that he sent you a letter in the mail. And the reason that you as a Trump supporter did not get it is because it must have been the wrong address. So he's already lying about sending you a letter. So then it goes on to say, so please consider this my way of saying thank you, Merry Christmas, and God bless you for standing with me when our country needs it the most. Then it says confirm address, because he's already lied and says that he sent you a letter to the wrong address. So now you're like, oh my God, I could have got a letter from this guy. Is it his own handwriting? I have to confirm my address. So then you click confirm address, click, and then it brings you to this. Claim a gift from Trump. Then it says claim a gift from Trump. So now you click it and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It doesn't even ask you to confirm the address. Now I'm going to get a gift. Now, Cohen, if you're looking at this and it says claim gift from Trump, and then below it are dollar amounts, and then it says claim gift from Trump, doesn't that look like to you that he's giving you that gift for Christmas?
He's giving you some gift, but what I think is the funniest part about that, let's just put it up for 1 second again. What I find to be the funniest is if you donate 50 cents, you get nothing. If you donate $1, you get nothing. It starts out, you only get the gift starting at $47 up to the $2,500 mark.
But
if you want that gift, not sure what it is, right? If you have no idea what that gift could possibly be, but in order to even find out, you got to invest $47.
That's yes, or Or you think that you're getting a gift in the amount of $2,500 or $1,000, and you may go, well, I'd want a gift for $2,500. Not that I'm giving Trump $2,500. What kind of gift do you give the guy? That's not a gift. So you clicked 2,500, and then as you're looking at it, you know how all of these emails have like a disclaimer thing that you click? So the disclaimer is this, but it's not a disclaimer. It says, alert, Democrats are gaining serious momentum. Their relentless attacks, fueled by millions of dollars in dark money, are paying off. MAGA is on the brink of disaster, and it's time to sound the alarm. Trump can't hold back the woke mob alone. Keep this box checked to support MAGA in this do or die battle. So some people may read only that, because below it in spacing, it's kind of this gray font. But if, let's just say you check it, what you've just checked is that now you're donating an additional $2,500 automatically on December 31st. So you may have thought you were getting a gift, and now you've just given Trump $5,000 right now when the economy is suffering. And then he sends these, though, Cohen, 5, 6, 7 times a day. I subscribe to the listserv so people don't have to. He sends a barrage of these.
How much
and
money
they're
did you
deceptive.
spend?
Sometimes you're getting a VIP club. Sometimes you're getting invited to Mar-a-Lago. Sometimes you're getting gold status. Sometimes you're joining his super secret cabinet. And it's all throughout the day. And then if you look in the very fine print too, it says this, and it's green and heart, all this stuff they study over there too, to find out what font is less likely to be read. Like, there's a whole method to this scam. And then it goes, this donation qualifies for the gift offer. So you qualify for a potential gift offer, and that's how they try to get away with it. I don't get, if someone does this to you, and I bet you he does this to I bet you some of the same people are clicking that multiple times a day, giving him his life savings.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
What's crazy. Going back for a quick second to the Epstein files.
You don't want to talk about the email list anymore? Okay.
Well, that email list. It's another scam. Listen, he's got guys who are making a fortune. I'll never forget. I saw Trump explode. And when I mean explode, I mean explode. What was it? Brad Parscale used to run under the first administration. He ran in 2017 when Trump had taken, there was some event that took place. It was during the year of 2017. And Brad Parscale, who basically never in his entire life had made probably more than $300,000-$400,000 a year. He had his Ferrari, which was a brand new red Ferrari, parked right in front. And Trump was like, oh, whose Ferrari is that? So he goes, it's mine. He then found out, I think Brad Parscale made something like $17 million off of the funds that came in. He took a percentage of it, and he was like, it wouldn't make a difference. People did it for me. He exploded on him. In fact, they were getting rid of him. I don't even know if Brad Parscale is even there anymore. But, this grift, this is all part of the shtick, from the hats to the, to the gold cards, listening, for example, to Howard Lutnick turning around and saying that they took in over $1.5 billion already in the Trump Visa gold card at $1 million. What is that? That's like 1,500 people already bought the gold card. Something like that. 1,500. Really? Who are these 1,500? What is it? Russian oligarchs, Chinese dissidents, and so on. People on 1,500. I'd like to know where that money is. I would like to be able to confirm that money actually came in, and it's not in their pocket, but it belongs in the coffers of America. That's that's my spiel on that. But I want to talk for 2 seconds, Ben, about and you guys were so great on the Midas Touch Network's platform. Yeah, they recently, about 40 minutes ago, posted my Substack of today, which I called Trump's Million Document Migraine, because it was Midas Touch Network that actually was the first to report it. But think about this for a quick second. As I wrote, I didn't just work for Trump. I watched him in moments when the cameras were off, the bravado was gone, and the panic set in. And if you want to understand what's happening right now with the Epstein files, you do need to understand this one immutable truth. This immutable truth about Trump, that he believes that silence is survival. Accountability is something that happens to other people. And that's why this sudden appearance of these 1-point-something million additional DOJ documents, obviously tied to Epstein, it's not just bureaucratic incompetence, because that's what they're trying to say. It's not. It's psychological exposure.
Two things. One, I'm reading this Business Insider article that talks about FEC filings from 2020. Companies owned by Donald Trump's campaign manager have received nearly $40 million from Trump's re-election committee, according to a new report. Companies owned by Brad Parscale, the president's confident and combative campaign manager, have already collected nearly $40 million this cycle. Parscale was doing coding and website design for Trump pre-2016, but from January 27 to the end of March, he got $38.9 million through those companies, according to FEC filings reviewed for a new HuffPost report. Most presidential campaign managers make low six figures. Parscale has made some notable purchases, including a Ferrari, a Range Rover, a $400,000 boat, $2 million condos, and a $2.4 million waterfront house in Fort Lauderdale. That's what Business Insider's reporting there. Moving over to talk about, the Epstein files. It never made sense to me when people were reporting like hundreds of thousands of documents. Like, that just never made sense. You and I have talked about this before, but I've been involved in cases with very big document productions. And when my understanding of the Epstein case, from all of the evidence, there's about $1 billion in potential money laundering that was being investigated. And there were all of these suspicious activity reports that were being flagged by JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, and others. And so the bank records alone, if we're talking about billions of dollars of transactions taking place, the bank records could be millions of pages. Just the bank records.
Sure.
Because just think about it. These bank records are generated monthly, sometimes even daily or weekly. Just think about what those records would look like. And then Epstein had all these other LLCs that we know about from the various civil cases, and some that we probably don't know about. There's at least 10 other co-conspirators that we know about who are being investigated by the DOJ, despite Kash Patel lying during his congressional testimony and saying there are. So there's likely a whole host of documents, bank records, emails that they were required to produce, those 10 unindicted co-conspirators or co-conspirators who never. So to me, I always just intuitively thought, based on my experience, that we're talking about millions and millions of records. Hundreds of thousands make no sense at all. And so when I was reviewing the documents, I saw that one that said 1.2 million records that were being imaged by SDNY with the Bates numbers or the document numbers, SDNY production 008 to 0014. So naturally, I also ask, okay, well, where's 001 to 007? Because that's probably additional. And is there SDNY production 0015 to say 0050? We don't know. And that was just the Epstein case in SDNY, not the Ghislaine case. So there's another workspace for Ghislaine.
Right.
Then there'll be more workspaces for the Florida documents, the Southern District of Florida documents, the state case documents in Florida as well. and then all of the civil cases, the international cases, the Virgin Island cases,
Sure.
the
How about
island.
all of the Ben? Don't forget all of the depositions and all of the testimony from all of the witnesses.
Mhm,
I mean, think about there were hundreds and
mhm.
hundreds of people who were questioned by the FBI. Each one becomes a report. Each one of those reports, especially in a case like this, could be several hundred pages long. I mean, that's
At
hundreds of thousands of pages in and of itself.
at least. And so, so I guess, how would you go about it? People were to ask, how would you go about even knowing the universe of documents? Let me tell you how I would do it as a litigator when I used to do cases like this. You would do your document production request to the other side, and you would also do what are called special interrogatories or requests for information, and then requests for admissions. So in my production of documents and in my requests for admissions, specific and my special interrogatories rather, I would ask for questions. I would say, tell me all of the sources where documents are held. Like where name me all of the individuals who have emailed in connection with the file. Send me, where are the hard drives, which phones were used. And then you go, well, Ben, you ask them, what if they lie? Well, oftentimes they do. So what do you do thereafter? You notice the deposition of somebody in the law we call the PMK or a PMQ, a person most knowledgeable, or a person who's got the most access, or a person most qualified to testify on a specific subject. So you would often take a deposition. My first depo would sometimes be of the IT guy, of the individuals who are involved in the search. And I would go and I would ask them under oath, tell me all the categories, boom, boom, boom. And you would create a list of all of the categories and you would figure it out that way. You would also issue third-party subpoenas. So in this case, you would do what the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee did, right? Get that subpoena of the Epstein estate, because we know the DOJ has records from the Epstein estate. Then you would go say to yourself, wow, the estate produced all of these records. They turned over those same records to the DOJ. The DOJ didn't turn those over to me. There must be something being hidden. And then what you would do, Cohen, when all else would fail, and you would show the judge, look at all of their conduct, you would then request that what's called a special master or a discovery referee be appointed. And the judge would appoint a neutral third party who would literally go into the documents. And if one side was obstructing, usually that side would have to pay for the special master or the referee, and they would be reporting to the court and almost take it over like a receiver.
Yep.
And by the way, that's happened in a lot of Trump cases. If you go back where special masters had to be appointed because they were not providing the information that was requested. So that's the process that would take place. How do you apply that here? Well, I think that what's needed is, with some of these federal courts that have jurisdiction, a discovery referee or a special master, someone independent, needs to be appointed forthwith. That needs to be requested. And that person needs to get in there and make these documents available to the public. And, unfortunately, the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. Cohen, what were the taxpayers paying for, as Jason Leopold from Bloomberg exposed, when there were 1,000 FBI, and 937 is the exact number. Let's round up to 1,000. I always want to be specific, though. When 1,000 DOJ, FBI officials, starting from March, were looking at this. What were they doing? What could they possibly have been doing? 1,000 of them that now it's not ready in.
I don't know, because all I know is when the FBI came, raided my home, hotel, my law office, there were more than 10 million documents that were seized that we had to go through. It took, believe it or not, it took about 5 days just to beta stamp each and every document and to have it put up into a file. We finished that, myself with 8 different people. We finished going through all the documents, all the pictures, all the audios, everything. We went through everything in just under 30 days, right? Under 31 days. In 30 days, we had it finished because we worked round the clock. Let me be very clear about something. Could they have done it? Absolutely. Were they obviously not providing the documents? Absolutely, 100%. But more importantly, this is where we're at. And you know what? There's one additional thing, Ben, that you could have thrown in your incredible analysis here. When you depose somebody, the very first thing that every lawyer says to the person being deposed is that understand that you are being deposed, that you are that your words are being taken down by a stenographer. You're required to tell the truth. If in fact that you're not, you can be held, under the penalty of perjury, which carries, not just fines but also potential incarceration. This is how you sort of start it off. Let me be really clear. So those people who turn around and that they lie and they, it's one thing if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know. It's okay. I know a lot of people here, they're like, oh, ask Cohen. He knows. How many times when I tell you I truly don't know the answer? If I knew the answer, I would have told everybody. I would have told the courts. I would have told Congress during the multitude of times, 7 congressional hearings, 2 grand juries, 2 trials, other depositions as well, right? I would have said it. If you don't know, you don't know. That's okay. But it's the lying, which ultimately says if you do know where the files are being held, if the IT guy turns around and says that this is it and that's not only it, we saw what happened in the documents case when they filed, what was that, an affidavit that there were no more documents that were there, and they had this one young female attorney sign that document. She was up for perjury, and that's what ultimately happens. You can go to jail.
Let me, to tie this all together also, let's talk about something that's really getting underreported today, but hat tip to Josh Gerstein. He does a really good job at flagging these things as well. Justin, this is from today. The Department of Justice tells the federal court that it can't delete the classified info from James Comey's friend, Daniel Richman, by Monday as required by the last court order. They ask for another week. DOJ can't carry out deletion by Monday. It's a good tweet, but I think most people who read that pass by it. They're like, why does this matter? Like, what does that even mean? And it ties actually into the Epstein files issue, and it ties into Lindsay Halligan. And this is why we need to make these connections and tie everything, all together. So just to remind everybody, Daniel Richman was James Comey's lawyer, and an FBI agent who testified at the grand jury against Comey was utilizing attorney-client communications between Daniel Richman and Comey, which is a big no-no. And that's the sole evidence that was being used against Comey from Comey's own lawyer. Not by actually bringing in Comey's lawyer, Richman, by bringing in an FBI agent who was not supposed to see the communications. So if Lindsay Halligan was not disqualified, I think there were a lot of other grounds that case would have been thrown out on. So Daniel Richman, after the Comey case gets dismissed, he files a lawsuit against the DOJ saying you've engaged in an unlawful search and seizure of our attorney-client information. Delete it, you're not allowed to see it, and return it. And a federal judge said, correct, that was stolen, that Trump's government stole your attorney-client communications and didn't have a warrant for it. So if they want to go and try to get a warrant for it, do that, make that case to the judges at the Eastern District of Virginia, but delete it by Monday, December 29th, or whatever the day is. Delete it by then. Cohen, how hard would it be to just delete it? Just delete it. Return it. Right?
I don't know. Maybe depending upon how many documents, I don't know, somewhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes.
Delete it, right? Return it and delete it. Not a difficult task. But today, the lawyers at the DOJ, Lindsay Halligan, who signed this, saying that she's still the U.S. attorney from the Eastern District of Virginia. She's still claiming she has the role after she was disqualified. The audacity, right? How crazy is that?
It's
She
beyond.
goes emergency motion. Emergency, she says. Memorandum regarding emergency for extension of time to certify compliance. Emergency. Let's read it. The court on this is what it says. The court on December 12th, Cohen, this was weeks ago, made this order. The court on December 12th ordered that petitioner's return property was granted and that the images of Richmond's personal computer that the United States made in 2017 be deleted and it be returned. Okay. Then you go to paragraph 7 and it says, however, because of significant operational constraints by the imminent Christmas and New Year's holidays, i.e., lack of sufficient technically qualified government personnel in the Washington, D.C. area for the remainder of this week and the next, which make the current compliance deadline fall a mere 1 business day after the court's revised clarifying order, the government anticipates that it will not be able to review all electronic storage devices containing classified information, delete that information, and return those devices to Richmond's counsel by December 29th, 2025. And then I'll go try to find the document, but this is signed by Lindsay Halligan. I'll make the representation that she signs it along with Todd Blanche. So Cohen, they're saying they do not have the technical personnel in Washington, D.C. to meet a very basic deadline. And
Well,
this
that's
is what I always say.
because they took everybody off of that in order to review the documents on this $1.2 million document find by the Southern District and elsewhere. That's what they're talking about. At one point in time, they claimed that there was almost 1,000 prosecutors and qualified individuals to go through the documents for the redaction, despite not ever making what's called a redaction report. They just redacted it based upon a 4-page instruction sheet on what they wanted redacted from these files. This whole entire process has been nothing shy of a clusterfuck of incompetence.
It is the worst way to handle this, and to hear from the victims and survivors about how traumatized this process has made them. And I think about, in my past practice, having represented victims and survivors in both criminal cases, working with victims advocates that the courts appoint to victims and survivors. There was a whole division in the DOJ, go and look it up, that the Trump regime has gutted, that deals with helping victims and providing resources to victims with everything from mental health services to having dedicated people work with them, like spend time with them, because the people have recognized how difficult the process for people who suffer PTSD is re-traumatizing if it's not handled the right way. And with Trump saying it's a hoax and saying, oh, well, these documents are fabricated and we produce fabricated documents. Ha ha ha. Well, why just assume, for the sake of argument, that there are that for example, and then you'll give the 2-finger salute. Just assume arguendo, for the sake of argument, that the Epstein-Nasser letter is not real, just despite having lots of indicia that the FBI in 2020 took it credibly. Why would you prioritize the production then, unless you're trying to hurt the victim's psyche? Why would you prioritize the bad documents instead of the victim interviews, survivor interviews, FBI witness statements, depositions, and the stuff that would be elucidating and illuminating? You intentionally picked fabricated evidence without context and threw it out there when you said you were prioritizing credible information, to then say, gotcha, psych, it's actually fabricated to begin with. unless your goal is to basically make it so that the entire production is like, you can't trust anything. Up is down, left is right, war is peace, but that's the regime's view on everything. Cohen, two-finger salute before we go. We've got a big audience today. Who are you going to give the two-finger salute to?
It's a tough one because so many people actually deserve it. The ongoing continuous lies in regard to the Epstein files, including from the Michael haters that are out there that want to affiliate me with the Katie Johnson case. Let me be crystal clear once again, since there is a large audience. I had nothing to do with the Katie Johnson case. In fact, all you need to do is to look it up yourself. That file is being handled by Alan Garten, who's general counsel to the Trump organization. On behalf of Katie Johnson, it's Lisa Bloom, who happens to be the daughter of Gloria Allred. What I know, I know. And most of you who are following us and have been following this program, Political Beatdown, Midas Touch Network, my appearance is on television or my Mea Culpa podcast, which this right now happens to be with Aaron Parnas. So to those of you that were like, oh my God, what happened with you and Lev? All you need to do is listen to that podcast. It's the one with the blue background icon, or my YouTube. Wherever I show up, you all who know me know that if I know the answer to something, I actually put it out there. Again, 7 congressional committees, 63 hours of testimony, maybe the most in history. 2 grand juries, 2 trials, 1 civil, 1 criminal. And they keep asking me, don't ask me if you don't believe it. If you don't believe it, call up Lisa Bloom. She'll tell you that Katie Johnson and the case that I dealt with, which was a Jane Doe, are not the same people. So I don't know why people want to refuse to understand that. At this point in time, to those of you who continue to push this Katie Johnson narrative on me, I want to see Katie Johnson's case actually resolve, and I want to know who was involved, and I want that individual or individuals to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. So to those that just want to keep fighting this, get this finger, all right? The big fuck you to you all. All right, because I can't say it anymore, and I refuse to. Now, the other finger gets left to the Kash Patels and the Pam Bondis. Why? Because they know exactly what they're doing. All right, what they're doing is they are dripping this, whereby, again, the amount of documents that are being duplicative or triplicate or quadruplicate and so on, it makes having the ability to review these documents, by people like Ben or myself or the entire staff at Midas Touch Network, which is the only place to get truth anymore. All right. It makes it impossible because you are going through so many documents. And then you're like, oh, wait. I saw that document before. Not once, not twice. Oh, my God, this is now the 4th time. I've seen it 3 freaking times. It is impossible to keep your head straight because the way that they're dropping it out, it is designed to frustrate us. We're not going to let it happen. But let me be very, very clear to each and every one of you. It is a ton of work, more than what it already would be if in fact that they release the entire file as requested, as required by law. So to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all of those that are involved in this drip, fuck you on that one.
Then I'll leave everybody with this. Let me just take a look at the calendar here, Cohen. December 26th, we come back and have another beatdown right before New Year's. There's one more. So I'll give a broader reflection on New Year's. So I'll give a shorter reflection right now, which is one of the things that I've been most proud of at the Midas Touch Network is doing my best to support independent media generally and inspiring others to build independent media platforms. I don't view the ones that we've inspired out there as competition. I don't view things that way. And in fact, I love to see a younger generation out there of great hosts who are out there getting truthful information out, right? I mean, corporate news has all this right-wing oligarch money, limitless resources. But the way independent media is going to thrive is to have a lot of voices out there. Now, the Midas Touch Network is the biggest in the space. We don't just lead independent news. We lead corporate news. More people watch this than watch Fox or CNN. And so I've always viewed it as a personal responsibility to do my best to promote as best as I can other independent media platforms, and to also use my platform and my voice here as best as I can to be a unifying force. Because right now we need unity and we need unifying forces, because what we're taking on, what the challenges are, it's really a life or death, do or die situation in our country. And so I just think that it bears emphasizing that what's been an incredible experience for me is if I've been able to uplift whether someone's on the Midas Touch Network or not, trying, and look, it's a big network right now with a huge staff at this point and lots of writers and lots of editors, and it's sprawling in scope. But to do the best to unify, unity, I think is one of the most important things that I emphasize, over and over and over again here for everybody. And I think it's what this community deserves. It's what this community wants. And to see others thrive in this space is great. That's kind of, if you ask me what one of the things I want the legacy of Midas to be, it's really about the movement of independent media generally during a time when corporate news bent the knee.
Yep.
That's what I feel strongly about. So from the bottom of my heart, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Thank you all so much. We're grateful for you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Shout out Beatdown Brigaders and shout out Midas Mighty. We appreciate you all so much.
That we do.